Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 6, Blood of My Blood is over, but we're just getting started here on post-show recaps talking about Game of Thrones Live. Hello, everybody. I'm Josh Wigler. No Rob Cesternino tonight. He is on his way back from River Run It Up Reno. Last seen asking his airline to hold the door as he raced to make it onto the airplane. But here in his place to save the day out of the cold and into your hands, we have a very special friend, Antonio Mazzaro, joining us. Antonio, what's going on here, man?
I like to think I put the special in very special, Josh. We got to get Rob that Littlefinger transport device.
I know. Listen, I think everyone could benefit from that. If the whole world was flying as fast as Littlefinger, we would all be in a better place.
Yeah, his fingers may be little, but his wings are big.
But his feet are really fast.
Yes, he can go from place to place like crazy. Boy, are my arms tired, Josh.
Very tired, very tired. All right, we are live here on, I guess now Monday morning East Coast time, Sunday night West Coast time, a little bit later than usual. Apologies for that. Some technical difficulties if you're watching on the live stream. If you're listening to the audio archives, no harm, no foul. We're here as scheduled, as promised.
Yeah,
but we're here. We're talking about Game of Thrones, Season 6, Episode 6, Blood of My Blood, which was like, I don't know, like the Samwell Tarly not-so-happy hour is kind of what we got here tonight, Antonio.
Yeah, the sad hour. Is just a happy hour that's not happy, a sad hour? Is it a Craven hour? Can we have a Craven hour, Josh?
I think it was the Craven hour. So we had the Craven detour tonight. I don't know how much people were craving, a Samwell Tarly episode, but that's what we got in a large part tonight. Lots of other stuff happening, too, as well, of course.
Are you a fan of just, instead of parsing this out over multiple episodes, bite by bite, taking a big chunk and putting it in one episode like this?
With the Sam story in specific?
Right. Yeah, because we've only seen Sam and Gilly once this season, right? And they're on their way, and Sam's throwing up on the boat and everything. Now they're here, and we've got their approach, we've got the dinner, we've got the aftermath, all in one episode.
Yeah, it was a lot of Sam, and you all know I love Sam. Sam is one of my favorites. He's my friend. There's a lot of Samwell Tarly.
A whole lot.
This episode had a whole heap, a lot of Samwell Tarly. It had some other great stuff in it too, though. I mean, like we're talking about the episode where, at long last, one of the oldest theories of all time, one of the biggest mysteries since the beginning of the show, has been resolved. We've been wondering where the heck is Benjen Stark. And Benjen Stark is back, so I feel like we'll work our way up to the Sam stuff. But let's start beyond the wall. Last week's episode was super crazy with everything happening in the door. Wondering how Bran is going to get out of this one. Lots of people speculating maybe Benjen Stark is going to return to the fray here. Indeed, he did. What was your take on the return of Benjen Stark, Anthony?
Well, not to the fray yet. That would be later if he rides south of the wall.
No, the fray returned as well. Strigoi!
Well, Strigoi. We'll definitely talk about the fray of it all for sure. Of it all.
Stop.
But Benjen's back. This is awesome. And back with cold hands, I might add. And by the way, what's Benjen been eating beyond the wall? He's like a Hurley on Lost kind of thing here. He's put on weight since he's been marooned beyond the wall.
Are you body shaming Benjen Stark? There was enough body shaming in this episode of Game of Thrones, Antonio.
A little bit. He's looking a little.
Who are we to be body shaming anybody?
Listen, nobody. But he looks a little Robert Baratheon. That's all I'm going to say. Like there's a little Robert Baratheon in Benjen Stark.
Well, there's a lot of protein in that bunny blood soup.
There must be high in saturated fat.
Yeah, you love that bunny blood soup.
Yeah, this is great. No, I'm really happy to see Benjen Stark. You're right. It's been something that's been talked about. It's one of kind of the oldest, if you will, Game of Thrones mysteries. This goes from the first season or the first book, if you will. What happened to Benjen Stark? Where is he? His horse comes back. He's not on it. We can't find him. We don't know. And obviously there's been speculation now for almost 20 years about what happens with Benjen Stark. And now we're getting the show's version of how Benjen's coming back into the fold. And this is great. He is an acolyte of some sort of the Three-Eyed Raven. He knows a lot about what's going on. Maybe not everything that the Three-Eyed Raven knew, but he knows about the mythology of something. He knows kind of he's been called and been instructed. And you have talked with Rob a lot on this podcast, Josh, about maybe what did the Three-Eyed Raven know? What was his pedagogy, if you will? What was his method? How was he trying to teach and what and why? And it turns out he's got some other chits in play here in that Benjen Stark was called by the Three-Eyed Raven. Benjen knows about the importance of the Three-Eyed Raven and can maybe help Bran in more ways than just protecting him by perhaps giving him a little bit of guidance and a little bit of information and finalizing his training. I think this is really great that we've got a character here that can kind of carry that forward without the full mysticism of it and still really bring that. I think this is awesome.
I think it's awesome, too. Really excited. As you said, 20 years of waiting for Benjen Stark. Just for the book readers know this. For people who don't, he, just like in the show, Benjen Stark disappears early on in Season 1. He goes out for a ride. His horse comes back. We never see Benjen again until we saw him tonight in Episode 6 of Season 6. And in the books, he disappears in A Game of Thrones, the first book out of 5 books so far, and has yet to return. So this was a surprise for, just about everybody. Although I think that there were some people who were reading the tea leaves of somebody's got to help Bran. Lots of theories that are fueled by some of the stuff from the books that it could be Benjen could come out of the cold and lend a helping hands to Bran Stark. And it turns out that that's what the show did. And I thought that that was pretty satisfying. It was pretty cool to see that guy back in the swing of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the show's version will be ultimately different than what we get in the books in some ways. There are characters in the show that haven't appeared in the show, I should say, that are in the books, and it felt like this Benjen was a little bit of a combination of that. So I think that that's all great. I think that it rewards the people who read the books, and it rewards the people who are show only by bringing a character and putting them in this role. And Bran is still downloading when this all kind of pops off. It's kind of like, oh, you can't unplug your USB drive yet because your files haven't transferred.
Right. Yeah, it's like one of those. It's like one of those moments where you have to get all the information off of the computer before the bad guy comes and gets you. Like a scene out of Mr. Robot, perhaps, Antonio.
Ah, yes, I know what you're talking about, Josh.
Yeah, you know that show. But yeah, I thought that was great, and it's good because we've been wondering, now that Bran is gone and the Three-Eyed Raven is dead, is Bran still going to be able to trip down the rabbit hole, or the Raven hole, if you will? Is he still going to be able to see all those visions and go to the past, even though the Raven is gone? Turns out, yes, this is still a thing that he can do. This is very good news. In fact, when he hangs out with Benjen Stark, and when Benjen Stark reveals himself, right before Bran really comes to, Mira and Benjen have a moment where he's revealing that I work for the Raven, I work with the Three-Eyed Raven, and Mira says, well, he's dead now, and Benjen says, and yet he lives again, or something to that effect.
Right.
So has the student become the master? Is Bran Stark, the Three-Eyed Raven, he had said in the previous episode, he said, now it's time for you to become me. How much should we be taking that literally? Does Bran have all of that guy's powers now? Does he have all of his wisdom, and it's just a matter of him being able to parse it out and make sense of it all?
From what Benjen seemed to be saying, that certainly seems to be the case, that Bran is the Three-Eyed Raven now, and he may not know how to use all the powers, he may not know what he's doing, but I like the idea that Benjen is saying, the Night King is going to come to the wall, and when he gets there, you're going to be there waiting for him, and then at that point, you'll be ready. So this is going to be like a Karate Kid kind of thing with Bran at this point. Like, he traded one sensei or one master for another. The Three-Eyed Raven taught him about the fact that powers were possible and that he was going to take on this role. And it looks like Benjen's going to bring him home and bring him across the finish line in terms of what he needs to learn to finish out how to use these powers. But it sure seemed to me like there was a data dump going on there, Josh. We saw the Mad King. Can we talk about this vision?
Yeah, let's talk about the vision. I mean, there was a lot of scenes that we see in this vision that Bran is having as they're being pursued. That's, stuff that we've seen before. Like, we've seen Ned Stark die before. We've seen Daenerys emerge with dragons. We've seen Catelyn Stark get killed. Bran hasn't seen these things, and now he has, and that's got to be both traumatic and confusing. In the case of his father and his mother dying, that's got to be pretty awful, but he's also got to be wondering, who's this chick with dragons? That seems pretty sweet. Let's go hang out with her.
What were those people doing pouring green liquid into that container? I don't understand.
I didn't know that they had Ecto Cooler in King's Landing.
This is great. The new Ghostbusters must be out. This is fantastic.
Yeah. So he's really. Listen. If Bran wants to, he can already see the new Ghostbusters. He has that access.
That's true. He can see forward and backwards. Time is a flat circle to Bran Stark.
That's what I've heard. Let's not get into the time is a flat circle thing. But there's the biggest thing I think is this vision of an old man who is shouting from his throne to burn them all, and that is the Mad King. That's the Mad King who we have heard much about during this whole experience here with Game of Thrones. That's Dany's father, who was crazy. He went insane. He nearly burned King's Landing down to the ground. If not for Jaime Lannister, who we found out in Season 3, everybody always calling him Kingslayer, Kingslayer. Turns out that Kingslaying was the best thing to do that night. That was a great choice. Great choice was made. But what's the significance of Bran seeing the Mad King in this vision? Why is that something that the show is choosing to put on our radar right now?
Well, that's an interesting question, Josh. That is certainly an interesting question. We do know the burn them all Mad King story from Jaime Lannister in the kind of hot tub with Brienne back several seasons ago. I think that was season 3, right? And Jaime tells the story about how the Mad King wanted to blow up King's Landing. He wanted to use this wildfire to just kill everyone, and he thought that by doing that he would essentially achieve this higher status, raise dragons, do all these crazy things. And it was truly madness, Jaime was saying. Like, he was insane, and he wanted to commit ultimately genocide or destroy thousands of people, and Jaime killing him prevented that. The question that I have for you, Josh, is we are coming off of an episode where we heard a phrase repeated over and over again: hold the door, hold the door, hold the door, as Bran was green seeing and had to warg or skin change in the middle of a green seeing kind of trip to affect some change in the present. And what I'm wondering from you, Josh, is everybody's talking about the dragons and the White Walkers and how maybe that's the ultimate conflict that we're going to see in this story, and all these petty squabblings over the throne and everything aren't going to matter. So if the ultimate story is dragons burning White Walkers, are we going to see a situation where Bran is in the past but also alive in the present? Someone is shouting at Bran to skin change into the dragon and burn them all, and Bran has to jump into the Mad King, and that's what makes the Mad King mad.
That theory is out there right
Right.
now. A lot of people have been wondering about this. Ever since the time travel aspect of the show has been revealed, the big question, and it's fair to ask, it's like, what else has Bran done? If he turned Hodor into Hodor, did he do something even more major? Did he do something massive? The theory that I really like is that Bran Stark might become Bran the Builder, and
Yes.
he's the guy who is responsible for building the wall once upon a time. Even that, I think, is a little Valyrian foil hatty. I feel like it's a little bit of a little bit of an out there theory, but I feel like the Mad King one is a little too out there for me. The idea that the Mad King goes crazy. He famously goes crazy because he starts hearing voices and is talking to himself. And now what if those voices are Bran? What if that's the guy he's talking to? That feels like it takes something away from just the madness of Targaryens that has been spoken about a lot, that you can flip a coin and a Targaryen is either going to be a fantastic leader or that person's going to go nuts. And I feel like that's just built into the bloodline of House Targaryen, and I really like that aspect. And I think if you now have time-traveling Bran going back and causing the Mad King Aerys to lose his mind, doesn't that take something away from that Targaryen plotline? And that's part of why it's so interesting that Dany is kind of dancing on the edge of being a really righteous leader and potentially repeating her father's mistakes. I feel like to have Bran really in control of that takes away from that. But the fact that the Mad King is on the show right now does make you wonder, is Bran going to have some sort of role to play in there?
Just a week after the Hodor thing kind of established how Bran can actually cause damage to people in the past through actions that he's taking when he's green seeing. So I think the possibility is there. I think you're right. I think it does detract a little bit from the story of Aerys. There is other madness of Aerys that goes far beyond him just wanting to burn people. This didn't happen kind of in one scene. This was a really bad person long before that.
Right.
And so the question really becomes is how much of the show is going to really cover that, and how much that comes from the books and so forth and so on. I just think you guys have talked. There's a lot of great questions on last week's feedback show about how much of this is going to be like a serial. Is it going to be all Bran? Are we going to have some Bran? Like, what level of Bran do we need in order to have a healthy diet here on Game of Thrones? And there are a lot of
fiber-rich, ideally.
A fiber-rich diet. Well,
Yeah.
you're drinking rabbit blood. So is it rabbit or rabbit? I'm not sure. But you're drinking
Robit.
rabbit blood. You're drinking rabbit blood. Yes, and that's all happening. So I don't know exactly what the brand of it is, like whether Bran does impact other events in the past. You mentioned the building of the wall, the Bran the Builder. There are obviously numerous incidents throughout Westeros or kind of Essos or Planetos history where Bran could have had an impact. Maybe he's involved with the Doom somehow. Maybe he's involved somehow with other events that have happened in the past. We don't know that. But I feel like this season has gone out of its way to establish that Bran can have an impact on the past. And so I think it's a fair question to ask. I understand why people are putting on that Valyrian foil, Josh.
Let me toss this out to you as a possible narrative defense for why that would be cool. For why it would be cool for Bran to be responsible for the Mad King Aerys saying, burn them all, and wanting to scorch King's Landing with wildfire. I mean, you could also say, like, Targaryens, they're obsessed with dragons, they're obsessed with fires. That's also inside of there. But let's just, for humor's sake, let's play it out that Bran goes back in time. They need to burn some whites. They need to burn some zombies as they're coming at them. And he, somehow transfers burn them all into the Mad King's head. Now, to stop that guy from making a catastrophic mistake and destroying King's Landing, the only available person to kill that man, this awful mistake that Bran would be setting into motion, is the same guy who is one day going to cripple Bran Stark.
Right, that's great.
So that's actually kind of cool. Like that's the one thing like that could, and it's certainly we've seen Jaime Lannister from other perspectives. Like we've seen that very vulnerable moment of Jaime in the bathtub and bearing his soul and bearing other stuff and talking about how, I had to do it. You didn't hear him, you didn't know, and everyone calls me a Kingslayer now, but no one knows what I did that night. And that really turned, I think, the viewing public's opinion on Jaime Lannister. I think that we got to see him in a new light. To get Bran to be able to see Jaime in a new light, I feel like this would help. If it was Jaime Lannister who crippled Bran Stark is also the guy that writes some, catastrophic mythical mistake that Bran makes, would be pretty cool. I still think that it would be better if this is all on Aerys, but that's one thing that I could see bearing fruit out of a situation like that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's a really valid point. And the crazy thing is, and this shows the kind of the depth and the breadth of Game of Thrones is, I think there are a lot of stories like that, even from the last, let's say, 15 years of the story of the show and the books, where you have one character involved in a story like that, and then they've crossed paths with another character at some point, and there's going to be value in that. So you've got people that have come up against each other in the past, or that can have that. I mean, let's say for a minute that Jaime kills the Mad King at that point, and then Jaime later on down the line is the one who pushes Bran out, and Bran is involved, like you're saying. I think you're right. There's a lot of value in that, and I think that that's not something that always immediately jumps to the surface. So what jumps to the surface is, that really takes the juice out of the Targaryens. But I think when you take a longer look at it, there might be a lot more poetry to that story than we're necessarily giving it credit right away.
All right, well, I want to follow Jaime Lannister to King's Landing in a second here, but before we do, we lost a massive, massive character in Hodor last week. There really wasn't any time spent on Hodor or the consequences of it, with Bran dealing with, like, oh my god, I turned Hodor into Hodor and I've got some things to learn. Were you disappointed that there wasn't more of a follow-up on what happened to Hodor in the episode, or was it just kind of there's no time for that? There's White Walkers coming after us and we gotta move.
I was disappointed because Bran's response was just like, they found us. Like when he woke up, that's basically what he says, oh, they found us. He didn't say like, oh, Hodor or oh, Summer or any of the things that happened. It didn't react to it at all. He just said they found us, and he said it in such a kind of way that was very matter of fact and not reflective of everything that had just happened. So I'm very interested to spend more time with Bran because I don't know if we're going to get any of that sort of contemplation or reflection, him asking those questions like, was I always supposed to do this? That's the sort of thing that maybe Benjen knows a little bit about from the Three-Eyed Raven, and Benjen can kind of help Bran see how he has to do certain things and close loops. Bran is a kid. The people have been talking about it in the chat room here at post-show recaps, that he makes mistakes. He's irresponsible. We saw that. The question is, how much of that was a mistake, or how much of that the Three-Eyed Raven knew had to happen? So I don't know where Bran's head is at with all of this. I don't know if he is the Three-Eyed Raven now, if he just has some sort of consciousness where he's like, oh yeah, of course that all happened. I knew it was going to happen because I'm the Three-Eyed Raven now. So that part I'm not sure about, but I am a little disappointed we didn't get more.
Well, I think, there is also like a growing realization of the severity of what's going on here, both in terms of the imminent situation of there's a bunch of skeletal monsters coming to kill us, and also I think him understanding now a little bit more about just how powerful he really is, and just how valuable that power is going to be in the war to come. So I think that, maybe it's a kind of thing where like there isn't time to cry over spilled milk, not to compare Summer and Hodor to lactate or anything like that, lactose. I don't feel like that's where we want to go. But I think that he can't get hung up on it right now. But I do hope that there is some sort of emotional follow through on that stuff, because it would be a little disappointing if we never got Bran, really, especially. I mean, Hodor is a big deal, but Summer was his guy. Summer
right.
was his buddy, and
Ryder Direwolf.
Yeah, Ryder Direwolf. So I feel like we really do need. I would really like some follow up on that. So let's see. All right, let's head over to King's Landing. Bad week for Jaime Lannister. Bad week for the Lannisters, unless your name is Tommen. What do you have to say about this one?
It was a bad week for Jaime Lannister, But he did get to ride a horse upstairs, which was pretty awesome.
That was pretty neat. That was a good move.
I didn't know that. To be fair, I did not know that was possible.
Really, that horses can go upstairs?
I didn't know that you could just gallop up steps like that with a horse. I think
you
that's
you know you
awesome.
would think that like with horses like being able to like really ride out in the plains and in the mountains and stuff. Like I think that they could handle some stairs.
Yeah, how's he getting down those stairs? Can they walk downstairs? Is it like I heard a cow can't walk down one step. Boy, that's a lot less impressive of an action. Like he charges up those stairs on his horse and then sorry, I've got to take my leave now. One step at a time. Very very slowly, looking back over my shoulder at you in anger. I'm very angry, one step at a time. Yeah, that's not exactly the same thing. Yeah, bad week for the Lannisters at King's Landing, but honestly, I thought Cersei was taking it a lot better than I thought she would.
Yeah, Cersei's usually like the most combustible person in that family where like things don't go her way and she just kind of explodes. But she didn't. She was good. Like she was like, "Hey, Jaime, suffer the consequences. Go to River Run. Go be in charge of the army. Show them what it's like to be a Lannister. Remind people what the Lannisters truly are. I have the mountain on my side. We're going to trial by combat. I'm gonna be fine here. I'm gonna be okay. We'll figure something out." She does seem to be fairly relaxed about everything. And just to set it up, Tommen, man. Tommen is the one who really screws this whole situation up where he decides, I'm going to align with the High Sparrow. Marjorie and I are going to marry the faith. We're going to marry the faith to the crown. This is going to happen. We are going to have these two pillars hoisting up the Seven Kingdoms. We're going to be in league with the High Sparrow. And I got to imagine if Rob Cesternino were here right now, as much as he outright loathes the High Sparrow, I feel like he is going to be very angry. Shades of Ollie are going to be thrown at King Tommen from Rob on this feedback show.
Yeah, I agree completely. I thought of Rob when I saw Tommen just acting a fool up there. I thought, Rob is not going to react very well to
this is what it would look like if Prince Ali had truly taken the throne. Like,
yes, Prince Ali, Fabulous E. Yes.
Yeah, this is what it would look like. It's just him ruining everything.
Well, let me ask you this, Josh, because we talked a little bit about what we're going to talk about before we started. We didn't get into this, but it's something that's on my mind. And when I was watching the episode, something that really was a burning question for me. Where does Marjorie Tyrell play in all of this? We saw her a couple of episodes ago talking to Loras. Loras was ready to just give up. Marjorie was like, no, we have to stay strong. We have to hold out. When we see Marjorie in this episode, she's ready. She's penitent. She's ready. She's all this awakening that Marjorie's had. I kind of wonder if she's not playing it on the sly and she doesn't have a bigger plan in play here. What's your read on that? Or what's your Josh on it?
100% what you just said.
Hundo.
Yeah, I think that Marjorie is playing the game, and Marjorie is very good at playing the game, and I don't think that you have that scene a few episodes earlier where she's talking to her brother and saying, stay strong, stick to the plan, don't give in to the High Sparrow, he's playing games with us. I don't think you have that scene on the show unless it's to indicate where Marjorie's head is really at. I think that she confides honestly in her brother sooner than she confides honestly to the High Sparrow and to Tommen. And I think when she sees Tommen, and I think that she is, talking to him about how I've seen the error of my ways, like I could be better to the poor and all of that, that falls very much in line with everything that we know about Marjorie Tyrell and the way that she's very manipulative in an amazing way. She is really good at getting what she wants. She did not want to be held in captivity, but I think after, playing a long con with the High Sparrow and playing along with what he wanted, I think that she found a really great way to get herself out of that situation without the help from her family and without having to take a naked walk of shame. So I think that these are victorious points for Marjorie, and I think that now it's kind of TBD on what's her next move. But I'm of the mind that she is rigging the system here. I'm of the mind that she does not really care about the Faith Militant and Seven and all of that. I feel like she is gearing up for some other, double play coming up next. Or maybe she rides this out because she's in a position of power now, and maybe she just doesn't shake things up any further.
Yeah, what's the next move is the important question to me. Because, look, maybe she is lying, and maybe she's playing Tommen for a fool, and she's getting Tommen to come to the side of the faith. My guess is that that's what the High Sparrow wanted anyway.
Right.
It's certainly a big win for him that this happened. So whether he cares whether Marjorie Tyrell is telling the truth or not, I'm not sure that he does. But ultimately, the question is, what's Marjorie's way to flip that on the High Sparrow if she wants to flip it at all? If she's playing the game, then she's got to have some kind of next move in mind that she's going to flip this out. And if she's not playing the game and she's just like, you know what? Now I'm the queen and we're super powerful, and that's all she wanted, that's fine. I don't think she's going to leave her whole house behind. I think her brother is still a big part of this. I think her grandmother is still a big part of this. So my question is, what does she do next? And I love Marjorie Tyrell as a character. I think Natalie Dormer is fantastic on the show, playing the various shades of this character and the different masks that she wears throughout these various scenes. And I love that Marjorie is kind of playing the game ahead of everyone here. And she couldn't have anticipated, or maybe she could have, that her family would march on the city like that, but she was perfectly prepared to take care of herself and her brother without the humiliation that was coming. She had already developed her own out. I love that.
Yeah, I'm seeing a few people in the chat room as we're talking this through live asking, is Olenna in on it? If Marjorie is gaming the High Sparrow, I would say no. I think that this was a Marjorie move. I think that the Queen of Thorns was all in on this plan to take out the High Sparrow with the Tyrell forces.
Lord knows Mace Tyrell's not in on anything. He had to have a soldier lead his horse around, John.
Oh, it was really great. That was really fun to see Mace Tyrell ready for battle. And I think that really highlights this next question that I'm seeing from Philip Marshall. Why didn't Marjorie let her family slaughter the sparrows then? If that was what was going to happen here, like if Marjorie is here, why not just let this play out? One, Mace Tyrell is not a fighter, so you're not going to have a ton of confidence that this is going to work out. It's a gamble as it is.
He looks like a Lego man in his suit. He's got like the Lego man head. Like he looks like his parts should fall off.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think that she has, much faith in Lord Lego. I don't think that she's really interested in that. And on top of that, I think that she has confidence in her plan that she has been suffering through to put into place. I think that she has confidence that she pulled Tommen in. Tommen and Marjorie were now, on the same side as the High Sparrow. So at least she can get out of the Sept of Baelor. She can get out of captivity without any blood spilled. And now she can pause. She can take a bath. She can have a meal. She can have some fun with Sir Pounce. Like, she can go back to her life a little tiny bit, and then she can kind of get, her bearings straight and plan the next move. So I think that this was her surefire way out by kind of gaming the system here against the High Sparrow.
I think that's right. I think the important thing is all the Tyrells are still alive as a result of Marjorie's plan. I don't think that's by any means guaranteed. If we had gone with the Lord Lego plan of it all, I don't know that we would have seen Loras survive. I don't know that we would have seen Lady Olenna survive. I think that that's a much riskier deal. And Marjorie has a bigger plan in play here. King's Landing has been very boring to me throughout this season. I feel like the juice is not worth the squeeze. But I'm starting to feel like there's a lot more juice in the Marjorie Tyrell. And I'm fascinated by where that goes.
Great character. Love that character. Good to see her making some moves tonight. Really, really terrible week for Jaime, who is like publicly embarrassed. Yeah, he rides up the stairs. That's really cool. But
awesome.
But then the very next thing is like his own son, and like everyone knows it's his son. Come on now, like his own son, like completely botches the plan and just makes Jaime look like a nincompoop, and then fires Jaime from the Kingsguard, and Jaime's being banished to River Run pretty much. This is just awful news for Jaime Lannister.
What is it with these Lannister boy kings and firing their Kingsguard? Shades of Sir Barristan, the Bold happening here with Jaime being sent off.
Jaime not threatening any lives on his way out the door at least.
Fair point. He did take it a little better. They're going to send him apparently to River Run. This is not anywhere that Jaime Lannister wants to be. He could be the Lord of Casterly Rock. He hasn't as yet decided that he wants to occupy that position. He wants to be in.
This is good news for him if he ever wants to occupy that position, because he is no longer Kingsguard, and he could, I think, legally be the Lord of Casterly Rock at this point.
Oh, you dispensing legal advice now, Josh?
Oh, no, I wouldn't dare in front of Maester Mazzaro.
Oh, fair point.
But in terms of like the loophole that Jon Snow was able to navigate with dying and no longer needing to be part of the Night's Watch, and now he doesn't have to be Lord Commander, and he's free to fight for Winterfell. I think in the same way, Jaime getting kicked off the Kingsguard should make him eligible to be Lord of Casterly Rock.
I think that's right, and I think that that's something where he could be perhaps a positive force there. Like, I think that he's learned a lot about what a Lannister is and isn't, and learned a lot about how not to be from Tywin. We saw the different ways that both parties treated Tyrion, and now maybe Jaime regrets that a little bit, considering what Tyrion did. But I think Jaime is a much more well-rounded person than he was at the beginning of the series, and certainly than he ever would have been if he had just jumped into that role in Casterly Rock. So if that's the final part of the story for Jaime Lannister, if that's his ultimate landing spot, I think that's a good one for him. And I think that you can look at him and say, yeah, he's learned how to be a decent and good person. On the other hand, Cersei really pulls the crazy out of Jaime Lannister, and I haven't really liked that Jaime has pivoted back to a person who has to be by Cersei's side, and it's us against the world. It's so creepy. Every time they think about murdering, they start making out, Josh. I don't feel great about this.
It turns them on.
Yeah, it's a little icky. It's very
These
icky.
Lannister twins, their proclivities are interesting, to say the least.
To say the least. Yeah, but a bad week for Jaime. By any stretch.
Bad week for Jaime, but what is the Lannister move here now? Tommen made his move. Cersei seems pretty chilled out about it. Does she just think that if she wins trial by combat with the Mountain at her side, that she's suddenly going to be able to affect a big power change, like a big power shift? Why is Cersei so relaxed right now?
Well, I do have a couple things that I want to say about Cersei. First of all, as the kind of legal expert here at Post Show Recaps, if I can self-appoint.
I think you can.
Okay, fair enough. What I would say is, how screwed up is it that the Walk of Atonement is just like your bail? That you just, you want to get out of jail? Then you got to walk naked through the street. You still have to have a trial. It's not like that's the punishment and you get out of whatever you did by walking naked. That's just to get you out of jail. So that's a really tough pill to swallow.
That's a steep price for bail.
It really is. It's like, come on. They need a better bail bondsman service in King's Landing there. And Flea Bottom. We need Flea Bottom bail bonds to really step up the
bail bronze.
The bail bronze of it all. That could also happen. We just need a better system, because that being like not your ultimate punishment is crazy. Cersei wants to do her trial as a trial by combat. We've got Sir Gregor. They've made us stronger. We're stronger. This is terrifying. Who could possibly fight Sir Gregor for the faith? I mean, Lancel Lannister, Tommen, like, what's going to happen here?
I want it to be Lancel, or, now it could be Loras, right? Like, if Marjorie is now team Faith Militant and she is able to pull Loras along with her, you got to imagine that she negotiates to get Loras out of there as well. Like, she says nothing but pleasant things to Tommen about Loras when Loras comes up. She says, yeah, he has sinned, but that's only obscured his purity. It hasn't, erased it. So let's say that Loras gets out of this situation with Marjorie being able to negotiate his way out. Is he now going to have to play along with the Faith Militant? And is Marjorie, if she has to do some trial by combat, or if the Faith Militant are going to have to throw a person into the mix, is the Knight of Flowers a logical choice? I mean, this guy is a fantastic fighter, a fantastic swordsman, and there's history between the Mountain and Loras fighting. That's happened before. It was very memorably the Mountain's very first scene on the show, where he chops off the head of the horse and nearly kills Loras, and then the Hound steps in and saves the day. Could we see some version of a rematch between Loras and the Mountain? Is that a possibility?
I think that's a possibility, and I think that in that kind of scenario, when
Loras toast.
When Loras loses and Cersei goes free, I think that presents a very interesting dynamic, because I don't know what the High Sparrow wants. Does he want to win that combat? And if he wins, if his champion wins, what's the punishment for Cersei? Is it death? Is she put to death for her crimes, or is it something less than death but more than kind of jail? I mean, I don't understand exactly what the proposed punishment is in this trial by combat. It's just a matter of determining her guilt or innocence in the matter. And so she may be cleared of all charges when Loras Tyrell goes down in a crumpled heap as Sir Gregor just dominates. So Robert Strong, I should say.
His head's going to be popped like a pimple, just like the Red Viper. They're just going to get the repeat of that awesome move.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a very good possibility. And the question I have, I guess, is, unless the High Sparrow has some greater champion in mind, is his plan ultimately to let Cersei just get off with winning the trial by combat? Or did he not account for Sir Robert Strong? I'm not sure about that, but I think having Cersei in play is not a good thing for the High Sparrow. We've seen him kind of doing some mind game work against Cersei with Tommen earlier in this season, talking about, like, you know that your mother is wrong, like she's bad,
Right.
and really kind of mind-bending Tommen in that respect. So I do think he's sort of lining up a lot of different possibilities here in the anti-Cersei circle, and that may be because he's not confident that he's going to win a trial by combat.
Here's the other thing, too, that's worth considering is, will this trial by combat happen? Cersei is really putting all of her eggs in that basket. Like, oh, if they're going to come after me, don't worry, trial by combat, and the Mountain is going to fight on my behalf. But we have seen every time that she's been confident about a plan against the High Sparrow, it has not worked out the way that she has thought it was going to work out. Will the High Sparrow, now that he has Tommen's ear, now that Marjorie, at least in his opinion, is in an alliance with him, is he going to pull some sort of move where trial by combat isn't even an eligible option at that point? And are we going to move to a place where we might still see the Mountain F some stuff up, but it might not be in an arena, a formal arena? It could be, all right, well, now it's desperation time. Let's just let the Mountain ride.
It's entirely possible. I have always wondered about the logistics of trial by combat. Are there no atheists in Westeros? Like, does everybody believe in God's will? And does everybody accept that if
I don't
somebody
think so. I mean, just like think of a character like Bronn. How devout is Bronn of the Blackwater?
Yeah. Oh, trial by combat, you won, so I guess I gotta go. Like, the gods decided it. Yeah. I mean, so I don't know. The thing that I'm really most puzzled by with Cersei is if you draw the through line backwards and you say, how did this all happen? It all happened because of her. She armed the Faith Militant as a move against the Tyrells, mainly. And she really wanted them to take down Loras and Marjorie because she was trying to get an end around against the Tyrells, having too much influence with her children. And then here we are, ultimately, where Cersei is kind of head on the slab as a result of her actions. Her son is so screwed up. All these horrible things are happening because of what she did. And I just don't see that really taking very much of a toll on her at this point. She seems very single-minded, and in this episode, very confident that it's all going to work out. I wonder if she's got another plan up her sleeve that we just don't really know the full details of, or if she's putting all of her eggs in the Robert Strong basket.
Yeah, which would not be out of character for her to like go all in with a really, crappy hand. So we'll see how that goes. Jaime's going to the Riverlands. Central in this Riverlands story is apparently Strigoi, the return of Walder Frey.
Yes.
Walder Frey back in the mix. Were you happy to see Walder Frey back in the mix?
What a effing pro David Bradley is. That's his name, right? David Bradley?
That's the actor, yeah.
He's such a pro. He hasn't been on this show in several years. He steps right back in and just destroys it. He is so good in this scene. He is Walder Frey immediately. It's like, how did you lose a castle? Like, did it disappear? And he's very angry, and immediately Walder Frey. Do you like the fact that he's calling it the Red Wedding? Is it the self-styled Red Wedding at this point?
Yeah, man. Like, this is like his one thing.
The Red Wedding happened. I did it. Red Wedding.
That's his claim to fame. You guys know I did the Red Wedding, right?
Yes.
That was me. That was totally me.
It was me.
Yeah, it was me. The most important thing on Game of Thrones. I'm the guy. Red Wedding. Yeah, I think it's fun. I think, fun is a dark way of describing what happened at that Red Wedding. But Walder Frey is a great character, and there are few people on Game of Thrones that I would rather see get mercilessly shredded apart than Walder Frey. But that being said, and I'm curious about your take, were you worried during this scene that like Walder Frey was going to be poisoned and like choke and die, and like we were getting the Walder Frey scene here because it was going to be the swan song for Walder Frey? It was going to be the final hurrah. Because I was starting to feel that way, and I was thinking to myself, that is not even close to a savage enough death for Walder Frey for him to get Joffrey'd. We just can't have it be like that. It's got to be so much worse.
Yeah, I agree. It can't happen that way. There are too many characters that are still alive on this show with an axe to grind with Walder Frey, not the least of which is Edmure Tully, who has apparently been at the Twins in the jail cells. He's not looking very good.
I thought that he was in Scotland this whole time.
Oh, yeah. Well, that may be true. I know what you're saying, Josh.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he was in an intelligence office in the Night Manager. So there you go. But yeah, I don't know ultimately. I don't know what Walder Frey's best death is. Is it Arya? Maybe that's the best one, that Arya finds a way to get Walder Frey down. But ultimately, his best death was not anywhere near tonight's episode. I never worried about it. I thought this is just a great kind of reintroduction to Walder Frey. Like, oh yeah, remember that guy? Remember the Red Wedding guy? That was me. And I'm here, and I'm back. I'm still a jerk to my teenage wife, even though I'm like 90. I'm still bossing
Hey, he
people
said
around.
I'll find another.
I'll find another.
He found another.
Yeah, he did. So this is terrible. But Scott French is saying in the chat room, feeling good about Walder in my Deadpool. I think that that's probably right. This guy, he's not going to live out this series, I don't think. But I didn't think his end was coming tonight.
Well, what do you think? Does Walder Frey die this season? Is this going to be the season that Walder Frey gets his, meets his maker?
Well, this is the thing. So he's upset because the Freys have lost River Run, ultimately, and that the Tullys...
You don't lose a castle, Antonio.
Yeah, it just disappeared. I don't understand.
Just disappear.
Yeah. So he's upset that apparently the castle had been taken. It's been retaken by the Tullys. He has a bargaining chip here in play. Edmure Tully, he's upset that the Blackfish has escaped.
It's pretty funny that he thinks that Edmure Tully is going to be a serious bargaining chip, when in the previously on, to remind us of who the Blackfish is and Edmure Tully is, it's that scene where Edmure Tully is trying to give his father the Viking funeral.
Yeah, he can't shoot the arrow.
And he can't shoot the arrow, and the Blackfish just steps up. He's like, ugh, frickin' Edmure. So I feel like the Freys are going to show up to River Run with Edmure Tully, and the Blackfish is going to be like, all right, and...
Yeah, they've kind of probably already written this guy off.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably surprised he's still alive. I don't know. It is interesting to see what houses will do, whether Edmure is going to get the Theon treatment or not, or the Samwell treatment. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe they're going to want him back, or maybe there's going to be some greater plan in play. But things are picking up in the Riverlands. I mean, we've got Jaime Lannister headed there. We know Brienne is headed there.
Reunion.
Now we've got the Freys headed there.
How awkward is it going to be if Brienne shows up to the Riverlands with Tormund and Jaime is going to be there as well? Are we going to have a shipping triangle? Is that where we're going? Oh my
gosh, if that is the triangle that will break the world, if that's true.
The internet, Tumblr can't handle it.
No, too many GIFs are gonna arise out of the looks that will pass between all three parties. Tormund will he will hate Jaime Lannister on sight. So that will be interesting. But yeah, I don't know what role the Freys play in all of this, is what I'm saying. It sounds to me like the Lannisters want River Run. They want the situation to be cleared up. Brienne wants to get the Tullys kind of back in play for Sansa. That's what her mission is. Where do the Freys play into all that? It's hard to see that on the surface. We know geographically they occupy a very important space with the twins. But whether they occupy a very important space in the story at this point, I just don't think that that's the case. And I don't know, other than having Edmure, what role they really have in this Lannister versus Tully scuffle that is now happening.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, let's talk about the person who witnessed the Red Wedding, who is no longer in Westeros. Let's talk about Arya Stark, who we've been debating throughout the week between Rob and I and Jason Somerville coming onto the podcast and Terry Schwartz in the book club. Like, what is the test that Arya is facing here? Is she actually being asked to kill this actress, Lady Crane, or is it going to be, if you don't kill Lady Crane, then you've passed the test? Seems like we got our answer tonight. Arya did not want to kill Lady Crane. She basically outs herself as part of the Faceless Men. She says about the Sansa actress to Lady Crane, look out for her. That one's trying to kill you. The waif witnesses all of this. Arya leaves. She goes and finds Needle. It seems like she's just straight up Arya Stark again. Looks like she failed the test and she knows it.
Yeah, she does. She doesn't even bother showing back up at the House of Black and White. Like, she goes and finds Needle, and she goes kind of
finds
hiding.
Like a quiet corner to hang out in.
Yeah, a little hovel, like a little lean-to or like a little corner. Yeah, so she's now back to being a cat of the canals, maybe, or something. I don't know what her plan is going forward. I do wonder if Jake and Hagar maybe had a greater plan in play here, and that is like the girl is no one bowl, the waif versus Arya. Is he only going to pick one apprentice, and he's going to pick the one ultimately who is going to be able to kill the other one? I think the real math is that the Faceless Man was denied, or the many-faced god was denied a death.
Right.
That a life should have been given to him via the actress, and that was denied, and so now a life has to be given. I'm not sure that Jake and Hagar really cares if the life that's given is Arya's or the waif's. I think all he cares about is the math. A face will be added to the wall, is what he said before, implying that it would be Arya's. But if Arya kills the waif, is she going to be back in his good graces? At least to the extent that he's not going to try to kill her anymore. And I think that's the million-dollar question: is if Arya does kill the waif in the weeks to come, is she safe from the many-faced god at that point, and her fate is her own fate going forward? And I think that, I mean, I'd hate to think that Arya's just going to have to live the rest of her days being stalked for some crime against the House of Black and White. I'd like to think it's one for one, and if she kills the waif, that's it.
Yeah, I feel like for Jake and Hagar, it seemed like he was very disappointed by this news that the waif brings him. The waif says, "She didn't do it. Can I kill her? You promised." And Jaken says, "Yeah, just don't let her suffer." And I think that the way that Jaken is playing that scene, to me, it strikes me that he means it. That, he's ready for Arya to go. She failed the test. She is not no one. She is Arya Stark. A girl had so much potential, but a girl does not exist. Only Arya exists. So I think that even if Arya were to kill the waif, I don't know if that settles the beef with the House of Black and White. I don't know if that balances the scales, because this contract, once again, the killer did not kill the victim as contracted, and now that same person who violated the contract has killed a member of the Faceless Men. Like, I don't know that that balances that equation, and I think it ruins the equation. I think it skews the equation in the wrong way. So I think that Arya is not in a good spot with the House of Black and White. I like her odds ultimately, just narratively. I don't feel like this is where she gets eaten up alive, at least not in the short term, but I just don't know what her next move is. We know that the waif is coming after her. Is Arya sticking around Bravos? Is she going to try and plead her case to the House of Black and White? Is she going to try and go to another city? Does she go back to Westeros now? I think for people who want to see Arya tied back into the main story, though, this was a step in the right direction. At least, either send her on a mission through the House of Black and White to Westeros, or have her say, "You know what, House of Black and White, screw you guys, I'm going home," and she chooses to go back across the narrow sea.
If that's where we go with this, was it a waste of time for Arya with the Faceless Men?
It depends. Maybe it is if she goes back empty-handed. But if her next move is to sneak into the House of Black and White and swipe some faces, and now she can return back to Westeros as a totally rogue faceless woman, where she has a sack filled with faces, that wouldn't be a total waste. Now we have Arya Stark in the main action as a shapeshifter. That seems pretty cool to me.
Yeah, it does. And I really feel like Jake and Hagar is saying the many-faced god is dispassionate. He doesn't really care. He just needs to be given a life, ultimately, life for life. And we saw how that first played out when Arya met Jake and Hagar. She saved 3 people who were supposed to die, so he had to kill 3 people, and it didn't matter who. She could tell him whoever. I'm just going to even the score. 3 lives for 3 lives. And so I do wonder if he's going to harbor a grudge against Arya if Arya kills the waif, or if he's just going to say the many-faced god has been paid, that's what we're supposed to do. I just don't want to think of an Arya Stark who's going to have to be looking over her shoulder for an assassin for the rest of this story. That's another shoe that I don't look forward to waiting to drop forever. I would prefer that she kills the waif, that Jake and Hagar is basically look, you can't be a part of the House of the Black and White here. You can't be a faceless man/woman, but we're not going to have any grudge against you at this point.
But that just doesn't sound like him.
Maybe. I'm saying he's always said the gods don't care what lives you take. That you don't take lives for personal grudges. You don't take lives for revenge. You take them for what you're told to do. And the question I have is, how does that jibe with what Arya is going to do, which is a direct attack on one of his acolytes? And so that I don't know. But he's always been dispassionate about killing. So I can't imagine he's going to want to say, no, now I'm all about revenge. It just doesn't seem to jibe for me.
Arya's move might be to burn down the House of Black and White.
Oh my God! With the dragon.
If she doesn't want to be looking over her shoulder, if she wants to take all of those people out, I think that might be the move. I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm really excited to see where they go with all of that. Let's stick in Essos for just a hot minute. The episode ends with Daenerys on a dragon, giving the big Braveheart speech, freedom. That whole thing is happening. Really doesn't move the needle, to borrow from Arya, too much further than I think what we got in the Vyas Dothrak scene a few episodes back. Was this a really crucial step forward in terms of Dany's forward trajectory toward Westeros? I think that's the best takeaway, is that at the very least she's talking about, we're going to go back to Meereen, we're a week away, we're going to get 1,000 ships, then we're sailing to Westeros. Like, it does seem like she is declaring that that is her intent. Like, I am going to the Seven Kingdoms. That's the next move.
Yeah, that's great. And who knows whether when she gets back to Marine, that's still going to be what she says. But it's nice to know that it's on her mind. As far as does the speech really do much more, I don't think so. This is a speech, I think, literally almost that we have heard before, very reminiscent of Khal Drogo, giving a very similar speech when Dany had sort of ultimately convinced him to take the very same actions in Season 1. We saw him rallying his troops with a very similar speech. We've seen Dany, she averages about one of these yelling in a foreign language speeches per season.
Sure.
They're always great. I mean, they're always very fun to see. But it's getting to the point. And look, Drogon was awesome. How awesome was Drogon?
He's huge, really, by the way.
Huge. He's a 747.
He's a huge.
Yeah. He's like a 777. Like, he is a huge dragon at this point. And is he done growing? He may not be done growing. That is awesome to think about. But
I don't think that he is. Like, if he's supposed to grow to, like, a Song of Ice and Fire size, like, he's got it. He's going to be a big boy. He's, right now he's like a really healthy teenager. He's, a really healthy adolescent, but he's still got a little growing to do, I think.
Yeah, and so that's really exciting. But as far as the speech itself, I didn't really feel like it moved the needle too much, as you were saying, in terms of the needle. It is good to know that that's what's on Dany's mind right now. What I know is that the Slavers Pits and the Snake Pits in Marine are a huge distraction, and getting back there, finding out about the plan that Tyrion put in play, slavery's only going to end in 7 years. She's probably not going to love that. I don't know. You've been saying a lot on these podcasts, Josh, that we need to see Dany forward headed toward Westeros by the end of this season, that we should get there, and we should still arc out. Do you think we're still on pace for that?
Yeah, I think that Dany leaves for Westeros by the end of the season. That's what I've been saying. I think that we're gonna get there. One of the things I was really hoping that we were getting out of that Dany speech was her gonna end the speech by being like, "All right, cool. So you guys are all on board. Hold tight. Get to Meereen. I gotta go to Westeros." And like the dragon was just gonna take off and she was just gonna go. How much more epic is that moment if Dany's just like, "Yeah, I'm going to Westeros right now."
Yeah, that would have been awesome. And she sensed Drogon there. I thought that was really cool. They have a good connection there. So it is interesting to wonder exactly what Dany's goal is. But I hope by the end of the season she's gonna be headed there. It was very convenient. She pulled out of the ether, Josh, this 1,000 ships number. Who do we know that's talking about 1,000 ships? Is that something that's happening in the world?
Release the Kraken, baby. The Greyjoys are coming to Meereen. It's happening.
So it's almost like she's willing it into being by just mentioning these numbers. Who do we know? She's like, does anyone we know? Anybody? Could there be anybody? Oh, so it's going to be such divine province.
Interesting that she's saying this to Daario, who we all know is secretly Euron Greyjoy, right?
Yeah, Daario is not Benjen. We know that for a fact. That is proven tonight. Benjen got bigger, and that's not happening. They look different.
For those who are confused, this is one of those popular Valyrian foil hat theories that Daario Naharis is like everybody on the show secretly. That he's like secretly Euron Greyjoy. He is secretly, I don't know, he's Howland Reed. He's the High Sparrow.
He is Benjen Stark. He is everyone. He's the Alpha and the Omega. And Bran is all of the characters. Bran is Daario. So it really all just, it's Turtles all the way down. It's just Bran all the way down, Josh.
Turtles in time. All right, well, let's wrap up before we get into questions. Let's talk a little bit more about Sam and Hornhill, which we're talking about it last. I feel like that was a huge part of the episode, at least time-wise. And really, for my money, like it really feels like the whole purpose of it is just to get Heartsbane, just to get this ancestral sword, this Valyrian sword that has been in House Tarly for centuries, just to reinforce that Sam comes from a really bad home. His mom seems pretty chill, his sister seems really cool, but his father sucks and his brother is a space cadet at best. And I think that that's all stuff that we've heard about before, but I don't know that, do we need to see like the awkward meet the parents dinner just to get Heartsbane? Or was there another thing that was accomplished in this scene for you?
Nothing else accomplished in this scene for me. I think it's great to see Gilly. I think it's awesome to see Gilly is a wildling. She's raised beyond the wall. I think we sometimes can easily forget about that she's probably pretty tough and she's probably pretty awesome. I think there could be a greater role for Gilly to play in this show. She's not exactly a Ygritte replacement. She's not that hardcore. But to have a female wildling character, especially when we've lost another one this season, I think there's always welcome. So I think it's great to see Gilly kind of have a fire and step up to Randall Tarly Arya and just say, like, you're a horrible person, Sam's great, all these things happened, and on and on and on. I think that that's good character development for Gilly. Sam being Craven, give me a break. We already know about that. Like, that is something that we've seen over and over again. We didn't get any arc from Sam in terms of standing up to his family. He did steal the sword, which is awesome.
That was great.
We didn't have a great moment where he's like, oh, yeah, Dad, up yours. Like, this is going to happen.
So this is kind of the Craven move, right? It's like
exactly
when he's being confronted by his dad, and his dad is being a real bonehead to him, Sam's just like sitting there and just absorbing it and just shock absorbing it, and then he decides a few hours later, like, you know what, I am going to take Gilly, I'm going to take baby Sam, and I'm also going to take Heartsbane, and I'm going to just ditch. And I'm not going to have any kind of final confrontation with my dad whatsoever.
Yeah,
that feels like the Craven move.
Definitely. This is classic Samuel Tarly. Even though he's doing an awesome thing, it's being done in a very Craven way. So
classic Samuel.
That's fine. It was a really long scene. It was a Breaking Bad dinner with Walt, Jesse, and Skyler levels of awkward. That is the most awkward dinner I've seen on TV since that Walter White family dinner. But this was good. I mean, look, it was a little long. Gorgeous castle. I mean, just probably the most beautiful one we've seen in the show.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. Great set. Hornhill is a place that I would like to hang out at.
Yeah, beautiful. I love trees. I love that. It's a really nice place to be, but man, it's a nice place to visit, but you wouldn't want to live there because this guy, Randall Tarly is awful. I do wonder, are we missing Kevin Lannister is kind of a milk toasty presence on the show. Mace Tyrell, we already talked about Lord Lego. Are we missing this kind of harsh without Tywin Lannister, without we got Walder Frey, I guess, back. Are we missing that kind of older male character who really is like this?
I don't know that we're missing it necessarily, and I don't know
Alistair Thorne is dead. I feel like all of the asshole males in the show.
Bruce Bolton is gone.
Are just biting it. Yeah, Bruce Bolton is gone. So I don't know if there is a kind of a jerk in power vacuum that we need to fill here. But I'm not sure that we've seen the last of Randall Tarly.
Maybe there is. Maybe there is. I just don't know that Randall Tarly is the guy to fill that.
Alex Kidwell says the big dad. Thanks, Alex.
The big dad. That's very fun. All right, well,
we maybe need another big dad.
Well, we can launch into our questions from you guys. You guys who are watching this live are sending in questions. We're about to dive into all of that, and we can start with our good friend Maester Mike Bloom, who has a question stemming from this Sam story. Sam and Tyrion have similar daddy issues. Will Sam also commit pooper patricide? Are we going to see Sam against his father the same way we saw Tyrion against Tywin Lannister?
Why does it have to be in the bathroom, Mike? I bet Mike was a big fan of Act 2 of that play tonight. We saw with Arya and Bravos. I bet Mike really enjoyed the play within a play aspect.
Well, we know that Mike Bloom is a big fan of the local theater, so
I really wanted a hot take from AJ Mass or Mike Bloom or someone who's Shakespeare oriented. Maybe you can give it, Josh. Stephen Fishback would be the ideal for this.
Oh man, I would love to hear Stephen Fishback's hot takes on Game of Thrones.
The play within a play. The play within a play. Maybe that's a good road to the podcast awards, Josh.
Yeah, maybe. I do think one thing that was great in that scene, we're springboarding a little bit, but one thing that was great in that moment where Tyrion kills Tywin in the play is him calling out that line, let's see if Tywin Lannister truly does shit gold, which is a very famous line from the books when Tywin actually dies. The line is, in the end, Tywin Lannister did not shit gold, pardon my French, and I thought that it was very fun to get that on the show, even just as a little bit of a nod.
Yeah, I agree. And that we didn't really touch on this, but it was great to watch Arya watching that play.
Yeah.
And just see her cracking up at Joffrey's death, just dying. Like, she was laughing really, really, really hard. And I thought that was fantastic. And I thought great work by Maisie Williams in this episode. She's looking at herself in a mirror and really evaluating herself. She got complimented on her eyebrows. She does great eye acting, Josh. It's all
fantastic eye acting.
Yes.
Very good. All right, this is from our boy R. Philly. How psyched are you guys going to be to watch Arya murder the crap out of Arya 2 with Needle? On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say pretty close to a 10. Pretty psyched about that.
Yeah, no more sticks and stones, baby. We're going swords.
Yeah, stones and pillars. We're just going straight sword.
Do we know, or have we seen enough to think that Arya is just an easy win in this? We're assuming that she's going to win and
this is not how Arya Stark dies. If the waif kills Arya, the waif is going to be, forget Tommen, the waif will be the new Ollie.
We just never saw Arya get the better of the wave. So I do wonder.
Yeah, we did. We did when she succeeds in the original training montage while she's blind. But after that, she continues to get her butt kicked by the wave. I think what that tells us is they are both capable of kicking the other guy's butt. Like it's not a completely level match. I think I would give the edge to the waif if you were taking narrative out of the equation. But since we can't take narrative out of the equation, have to imagine that Arya would win any sort of fight against.
You're saying she's protected by her plot armor.
Yes, I think that she is heavily defended by plot armor.
Okay, all right.
I'm not complaining about that, by the way. If Arya Stark is killed by the waif, I will riot. I don't know about the rest of you, but I will be upset.
Me too. I mean, I felt like when we saw them both with eyes and Arya with weapon, waif without, the waif was still housing her. So I just don't know if I'm confident Arya can win this battle.
Right.
But the plot armor will save her.
All right, this is from Baz Lindo. So Dario and Euron both think it will take 1,000 ships to take Dany's army to Westeros. Can we confirm now that this world's math education is extremely insufficient? I thought this was we're going to confirm now that Dario and Euron are the same person.
Well, maybe that's why the math education is bad.
Dario is everyone.
Yeah, the census is wrong. Like they just needed to count this one person one time for like 8 people. So
Dario is everyone.
Yes, exactly. The Dario compromise. I don't know if this will ultimately happen or not, but I do think that the math should check out. Like, I don't think we're going to sit down and they're going to be like, well, we only have 995 ships. We're going to have to leave a few Dothraki back here at the dock. I mean, it's not going to work out perfectly. 1,000 is a pretty round number. It's a number you'd estimate to. I don't know why that this is being estimated left and right, but it is fun. It is fun that the math is so weird.
Just to go back to the Arya thing, great comment from Philip Marshall in the chat room right now saying, I think that's why Arya blew out the candle. She can beat the waif in the dark.
Interesting. But I mean, yeah, that's true because she did better when she was blind. Ultimately, she found a way to defend herself. So that will be. I took that as more metaphoric, like I'm blowing out the candle on this whole situation. This is the end of me, but the end of my time with the House of the Black and White. But yeah, that is a good comment. That could very well be the case. How about another question, Josh, from Random Nando? Random Nando says, not complaining. But where the heck did Drogon come from? How did Dany find him? Does she have one of those pet tracker things?
Yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe she branded Drogon like the Night King branded Bran.
Like a DPS, like a drag, yeah, like that's how she's gonna find Drogon, like a Drogon PS.
Love the DPS.
The DPS recaps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, that's where we are. That's where
I don't know. Look, Drogon Ex Machina. Like he always shows up at the right time. He shows up when Dany's ready to make a big speech. So this works out perfect.
Yeah, I think so. So I think it's just convenient. All right, this is from Andrew of Joseph. Can we talk about how Hornhill is like the most awesome castle in Westeros? Right? Aren't the Tarleys supposed to be a lesser house? That place blows Winterfell out of the Blackwater.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a vacation spot. Nobody wants to go to Winterfell.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has ever said, like, Winterfell's the best. Except like the people in the North who are like, we're great. But no one else is saying it's great in the North.
No, Winterfell is not a place you ever really want to be. It's not a place you want to find yourself. It's kind of remote.
Kind of like, Sansa and Jon, like, maybe you guys want to focus on, like, going south, finding a place to live there, and who really cares about Winterfell?
Yeah.
Sentimental value, I know.
I think seeing the fact that Sam has ultimately
and I guess they have to save their brother, but that's how forgettable Rickon is. You don't even.
Yeah, well, maybe if he doesn't survive the season, we'll see what happens. But,
right.
Maybe he's gone before then, but yeah, I don't know. I do think the fact that it's so beautiful does have a lot of symbolism for Sam because this is something that was taken away from him. To think of him as being the kind of the head of that house. And this could have all been his. Like, everything you see with your eyes, Samba, is yours. Like, that could have been beautiful, but this is what he doesn't get because his dad is a jerk and just thinks he's fat. And that's rough because that's what's been taken away from him. That, compared to the Wall, is like paradise. And to realize that that's what's been taken away from Sam, it had to be beautiful, I think. The more beautiful it is, the more, I think, sympathy we have for Sam and what he's lost.
Yeah. From Katie D. I ride horses and was also impressed with the horse going upstairs. Down would be terrifying. So.
Yeah, down would be very terrifying.
4 points for Antonio. You know horses better than I do.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. What other questions do we have, Josh?
Let's go. This is from Como Shepherd. Could Bran become powerful enough to warg into the Night King? This is definitely something that I've been seeing some chatter on ever since the end of The Door. What's your take on that, Antonio? Do you think that Bran could warg into the Night King?
Well, this is it's interesting because what we were establishing with Benjen, with this sort of half uncle or whatever he is at this point, is that you can be kind of half magic, and I think that that plays an interesting question with what goes on with Ser Jorah, who we didn't see in this episode. We talk about him possibly finding a cure to the grayscale. It hasn't ultimately set on. Does somebody need to drive a piece of dragon glass into his heart? We're gone with the Children of the Forest, Josh. I don't think they can save anybody else. I'm really hopeful. You guys, you and Rob have been kind of eulogizing what happened with Summer and with Hodor, and I
Yeah.
understand that. I'm really distraught if that's the end of the Children of the Forest. I personally love the Children of the Forest. I know a lot of people are hard out on the Children of the Forest. I think it's fascinating to think about what Westeros was like before the First Men came, when we were just Children of the Forest and giants, and to think about all the things that were possible for the Children of the Forest, the magic that they had, the things they could or couldn't do. That really is very interesting to me, and to think that they might be gone is terrible. But it all really comes back into play by saying, can Bran work into the Night's King? It's possible, and if Bran has some kind of knowledge of how to work this magic, if there are still children left, there may be no limit to what Bran can do. I don't know about warging into the Night's King because I don't know if there's a consciousness there to warg into. We still don't have the full download on these White Walkers. We're seeing that they're human. We know a little bit more about them week by week, but we don't know what their goal is, what the Night's King's kind of, what's in his head, literally, so we don't know if Bran can get in there.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really interesting to see. I do think, Antonio, I would guess that that's probably it for the Children of the Forest.
I hope that's not right. Isn't there a place? And I don't know if this is in the show. I'm not spoiling anything from the books. Is it the God's Eye, the God's Eye, or the Isle, the God's Isle, or something in the right? A lake in the middle of Westeros where they're alleged to live.
Supposedly, allegedly, but I mean, I don't know if the show's going there. I think that, this was meant to be that Bran's screw up not only kills his friends, but gets basically the entire remnants of a long forgotten people killed.
And the question is, was it intended to, was that screw up even a screw up, or was that supposed to happen?
Maybe it was supposed to happen. Whatever happened, happened, man.
Yep.
That's the rule. Karen Foster asks, what will Arya do now if she kills the waif afterwards? Is she going to run away with the theater? Is it time to leave Bravos? So plant a flag, as you tend to do, Antonio. What are we going to get from the Arya storyline if she is able to, stop the waif, if the waif is coming after her? If she kills the waif, what happens then? Where does Arya go?
She still has a few names left on her kill list. She still has Walder Frey, she still has Cersei, she still has the Mountain. And I do think that there's a good possibility that if she does leave, having seen all that drama that she's seen play out, including things that she was there for and things that she wasn't, I do think that she still has a little bit of an axe to grind there in Westeros. I don't think she killed Arya Stark. I don't think a girl is no one. And so if a girl's not no one and a girl is someone, I think that the someone part of her still definitely has those big three things that she really needs to take care of. And I could see her heading back to Westeros to ultimately to claim those sorts of things. I can see that happening. And I think that's way more likely than her joining the theater. Did you like the line? Did you feel it was too meta when the actress is talking to Arya about the theater and she says something like, well, the writing's bad, but you could just have to make do and do the best you can with it. Did you feel like that was the show making comments about itself in any way?
No, are you saying shots fired? The shade, the night shade of it all.
A lot of people. I mean, I feel like I saw tweets about that. I saw people thinking that this was a little bit of the show poking fun at itself or poking fun at criticisms of the show, basically being like, I'm only as good as what's written for me. Like any actor's going to say that. And I do wonder if there was a little bit of meta there, because I thought that whole conversation was great, because the actress is talking to Arya about being an actress, but Arya is talking about literally putting on other faces and being an assassin. And I think that really kind of brought the humanity out of Arya a little bit. And I think that humanity is still there, and with that humanity comes a grudge. And so I do see her heading back to Westeros. How about
All right. Well, I think, listen, we're seeing a lot of Starks rallying together in the North, or at least getting close to being together. Jon and Sansa reunited. Now Bran and Benjen have reunited. It feels unfair if Arya does not get allowed, if she's not allowed a chance to get back to Winterfell and get involved in whatever's going on up there.
Yeah, and I mean, she also has a little bit of an axe to grind with something else we heard about in this episode, where the Brotherhood without banners may still be active. We heard a passing comment about how they were robbing and ripping people off all around, and I do wonder ultimately if she's mad because they sold Gendry to Melisandre. So I wonder if she has a role to play there as well. There are a lot of stories that Arya Stark could slot right back into. and she could have an axe to grind, or she could have a grudge that she wants to pick up on. So I think Westeros is a place for her for sure.
All right, let's wrap it there. You got a good hashtag, Antonio, from what we were talking about throughout this hour?
What do you have? I had Lord Lego. You said DS recaps. What else you got?
Yeah, it was DPS recaps.
DPS recaps. That's right. DPS recaps.
All right, give us some hashtag Drogon PS recaps. DPS recaps. We like that. I think that's fun.
Speaking of post-show recaps, Josh, is there something big going on right now with post-show recaps?
There is something as big, if not bigger, than Drogon himself happening right now, Antonio. It is great times here on post-show recaps. We are very humbled and honored to be nominated for not one but two awards at the Podcast Awards this year. We are nominated for the People's Choice Award. We are nominated for the TV and Film category. It's great stuff. We are very excited. We hope you guys are excited as well. We're going to have some special podcasting coming up to celebrate the nominations and to get talking a little bit more in the coming days. But voting is open now. It opened today. You can vote once a day at podcastawards.com. If you guys feel so inclined to go and vote for us, we would be very, very honored to have your support. But it's very exciting. It was really cool. This was announced last week. Voting open today. So it's real. It's happening.
That's fantastic. It's beautiful. It's real. It's happening. I love it. And I'm very thankful. I mean, it's awesome to podcast here at Post Show Recaps. We talked about a lot of shows in the past. Josh talked about The Leftovers and Fargo and The Strain and all of these things. And I feel like it was all leading up to these. I think the Strain podcast alone is what people really liked about.
Stop, Strigoi. Never again. Do not bring it
again. Never again. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Very
thankful, very honored, very humbled. It's fantastic. And I voted for other podcasts at the Podcast Awards in the past. It's very simple. You enter your email address in, you enter your votes. Sometimes they send you an email saying, verify your votes, and you click a link, and that's it. So you can vote once a day from your email address, and we'd love to have your votes there for the Podcast Awards.
It would be awesome. We'd be very appreciative of that. So if you like what we're doing, subscribe, postshowrecaps.com/GOT, iTunes for the Game of Thrones feed. If you want the main feed, postshowrecaps.com/iTunes is the main feed. Appreciate all your Stark ratings, all of your reviews, all of that good stuff. If you want more Antonio Mazzaro, he is podcasting with me every week about Mr. Robot. We are doing a rewatch of the first 10 episodes of Mr. Robot as we are gearing up for the July 13 premiere of the second season of the show. Really fun stuff. We're a little late on week 4 this week. That'll be coming your way on Monday or Tuesday, so look out for that. Trippy episode. Going to be really fun. Talk about visions. Lots of visions to unpack in that one, Antonio.
Lots of visions. Yeah, we're on Robot Road. We're deep.
Yeah, we're deep into Robot Road, so you can subscribe to those podcasts as well. Postshowrecaps.com/Mr. Robot, iTunes, MR Robot, iTunes. Follow Antonio on Twitter. He's at AC Mazzaro with how many Z's, Antonio?
2 Z's, 1 R.
2 Z's, 1 R. I'm at Round Howard. Give us some hashtag DPS recaps. We would love to hear from you guys if you enjoyed this episode. We'll be back throughout the week. We will have a feedback show coming up with Rob's take on the episode. We'll also have a Game of Thrones book club. There's no Terry Schwartz, our normal host, this week. Once again, she's out of the country. So we will have a very, very fun fill-in host on that podcast. I think you're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be really good. Other than that, that's it. Anything else from you, Antonio?
No, just thanks for letting me talk Game of Thrones with you tonight, John.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thank you guys for putting up with us. We will talk to you again in the near future. Take care. Goodbye.